So, branding your podcast is actually one of the most important things you need to do for your show. The sad thing is, most podcasters skip this part of the process. And I noticed around episode 50, they try to go back and rebrand everything. But it's like if you do it in the beginning, you don't have to do it later. So, today we're going to talk about key elements to branding your podcast. What's up, pod stars? I'm Coach Chris, and in today's video I want to break down some of the most important elements to my show that have helped me from the very beginning of my podcast. And I think the branding part is something that we often skip over because we're so focused on how do I get downloads, how do I get subscribers, how do I get something. And the better thought process would be, how can I attract the right people into my world? Right? Like, how can you get the right people to pay attention to who you are? How do you get them to stop scrolling? How do you get them to share your content? Right? You have to present yourself and really think about it. Like, what can I do that's going to get people to pay attention to what I'm doing so I can actually help them or entertain them? So when it comes to branding, it's all about cultivating an audience, getting the right people. It's not about getting everybody. It's not about getting the most people. It's about getting the right people. That's all that matters. So I'm always trying to tell podcasters that it's not about getting thousands and thousands of people to listen to your show. Yes, it sounds good and it'll feel great to see, wow, 5,000 people listen to this episode. That feels great. I can agree with you on that. But is that really going to help you reach your goal? Because if 5,000 people listen, does that mean that those 5,000 people are your ideal listeners? Would they buy one of your products or services? Would they support any of your other content, or did they just show up for one episode and then listen to that and they're gone? That happens to a lot of podcasts, and that's why you should be focused on building a brand. Because when you build a brand, people are connected to you. They feel like they have to listen to every episode. They're looking forward to it. They're excited to share it. They tell people about it. That only happens when you build a real brand. So one of the first things you can do is create a tagline. Taglines are really good because they are also hashtags. My hashtag, growth never stops, I've been using that for years. And to be honest, it still hasn't picked up the way I wanted to, but I've been so consistent with it for so long. As I grow, that's going to grow with me. And then people that identify with my brand, they use the hashtag. Some of my clients, when they post a testimonial, they use that same hashtag. Right? When they go and post a video, if they share my podcast or something, they use that same hashtag and that tagline. And so that's part of branding, because then it becomes synonymous with whatever it is you're building, whatever your message is. So growth never stops for me means we're constantly growing and evolving. So I want my podcast, my entire show, to be built around personal growth. Constantly evolving, even with your business, with your brand, everything. I want it to constantly grow, because if you're not making progress, you're going backwards. Very simple. Now, again, when my people align with that, they have no problem sharing it. They're excited to. And the fun part about it is when you get people sharing it that you don't even know, right? Like, that's the fun part. When people you don't know share it, and then you see that they're becoming a part of your tribe, your community, it's amazing. So next, what you have to do is set up your core. You're really key. This is so key. This is so key. You got to get your colors and your description right. The colors matter so much, because I don't think people realize how important colors are. Think about this. The most used social apps usually have blue icons. Just think about that. LinkedIn is blue. Facebook is blue. Twitter is blue. Even Tumblr was blue. Something interesting there. And then another popular color is red. When you shop at Target, where people make the most impulse purchases, it's red. When you're on Pinterest scrolling nonstop, it's red too. Color matters. Color has a mood attached to it. So your brand needs to have core colors that you use with all of your content. It should be on your thumbnails. It should be on your website, everywhere. Core colors matter. Now, I'm not going to sit here and try to explain the meaning of every color. Like, I'm not a color expert. I just know that color matters. When I wear this burgundy sweater, it's a different mood you get watching me compared to if I wear a black sweater, right? It's different. The color actually matters. So think about that when you're putting your brand together. Don't just, what I like to do is after I pick the color, then I research it. I want to see what it means. What does it look like? Like, what do people feel when they see this color? That's what ties into your description. Now, the description for your show might not seem super important, and it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is, because some people will go and look at the description of a show to see things like when do they release interview episodes, how often are episodes out, what is this show about, who is it for. So like the description has to really explain the overall message of your podcast. This is a big part of branding your show, because when people go and search for something on Apple or whatever, when they come across your podcast, they're going to look at the logo first and then go straight to the description. And if the description matches up with who they are and what they're looking for, then they're going to go to look at your content. Now they want to see if your titles are right, if anything attracts them, right? All of that stuff is very, very important. So when you're writing your show description, you got to break it down. Who is the show for? What is it about? What do they get when they listen? How often are you putting out episodes? What's the major goal? Those elements are really, really important when writing your podcast description. Now, the last thing you have to brand your show is you need podcast ambassadors. These are the people that listen to every episode, that share every episode. Like, they support you to the end of the earth, right? Like, you need people like this, man. You got to have those people that just support everything you do. I really appreciate my podcast ambassadors because they help me launch everything. They support everything before anybody else does. And this means books, courses, the Podstar community. They support my entire brand on every level. And I really appreciate that. And so the best way to get podcast ambassadors is to give them something for listening early. This is a real good trick that I mentioned in the Beginners Podcast course, which is available in the Podstar community. Check it out in the description below. And one of the things you could do when people first go and listen to your show, and then they show you proof that they subscribed, they left a review, they actually support, and then they share it online somewhere, give them something for free. Like, you could give them a book, you can give them access to some exclusive content, you can give them a coaching session. And if you don't do anything in the business realm, you could also allow them to, be on the show once. Let them get a guest appearance, right? You want to make people feel like they're part of something. That's the most important part of building a brand. You got to make them feel like, I'm a part of this. This is mine. That's why, you ever notice how people with iPhones and Samsungs, like, they go back and forth? Apple users feel like they're part of the Apple community. If you have an iPhone and a MacBook and then you got Apple TV, like, you're in the ecosystem. So you feel like you're a part of this culture. You're a part of Apple culture. That's the same thing we create with our content. And when you build that, it's really, really easy to grow your podcast. Like, extremely easy. So I want you to really think about how you can better brand your show. And if you are in the middle of a new season, or if, let's say, you've had your show out for 6 months, and now you're like, man, I got to rebrand. I didn't do all of this. That's fine. Now, all you need to do is take a step back, go through all these things I mentioned, and launch a new season of your show. Not start over completely. Don't delete the whole podcast. I'm not saying that. But take a step back for a second and think where you can improve, and then really focus on that. And as a pro tip, when you do rebrand your show, one of the most important things you can do is a content blitz. That first week of your rebranding, put your new colors, your new logo, your new description, your message everywhere, every single day for at least 5 days straight. Like, go a week straight, posting every day, all day, nonstop, so that people can really register that new message. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. Also, check out the Podstar community. This is an exclusive membership community for podcasters that are building a business. We do master classes, weekly trainings, and even group coaching. If you want to learn how to build your brand, build your business, and grow your podcast, check out the Podstar community now. It's linked in the description below.